Are you trying to learn to play the guitar? I see a lot of courses given on any instrument that you are supposed to memorize every chord in your head. Before that, you should learn how to build them yourself, so that you will understand why they look like they do. First, I want to say that even if you're going to become a guitar player, it's going to be much easier looking at a piano, even if it is just an image over the piano's keys that you're looking at. It will be easier because the piano only has one string of all notes, while the guitar has more and in different tunings. One string of notes is less confusing. And the piano has often less notes in the chords than taken on a guitar. Let us start, and you will see what I mean. First of all, we need to know the two lists of the major and minor scales tone steps. They look like this. If you don't know how they were built, you can look at my video Piano Chords, How Are the Major and Minor Chords Built, and after that continue from here. Now let's continue from here. We will begin by looking at the C major chord and how it was built from the C major scale. Here's the list of tone steps to build any major scale. Let's use it to build the C major scale. Starting with the C, and then take one tone step up, adding the D, and a tone step up, adding the E, and a half tone step up, adding the F, a whole tone step, adding the G, a whole step, adding the A, a whole step, adding the B, and a half tone step back at the C, one octave up, and so forth. Now I have put a number on each one of them. A C major on the piano consists of the root key, the third, and the fifth. And these three are taken from the scale, in this case the major scale. The root is at number 1, the third is the major note on number 3, and the fifth is at number 5 on the scale. These three notes are called a triad of notes. As you can see, these three notes are C, E, and G. It can also be taken like this. And this? You got the point. As long as you're taking the three chosen notes from the scale. But now, how on earth do you take the chord on a guitar? First thing first, you must know how the guitar is tuned to be able to understand. A guitar can be tuned in many ways, like the normal tuning, where the strings goes from E, B, G, D, A, E, or a drop D tuning, where it goes from E, B, G, D, A, and D, where the thick E string has been dropped to a D. There are a lot of other tunings too, but we are only going to look at the normal tuning, not to make it more confusing. We know that the first string, the thin one, is an E. This means that if we hit this string, it's going to be an E note, and the next is going to be a B, etc. And if we press down a finger on, as an example, the thin E string on the first fret, then it's going to be transposed into a F, same as the next half tone step up on the piano from any given E key. And it will continue the same way from there, just like on the piano. And when we are back at an E one octave up on the piano, we are also back at an E one octave up on the guitar. And the notes loops over again, octave for octave, until we are at the end of the piano or the guitar string. And the same applies to all of the strings. So the A string will go from A and up one half tone step to the next half tone step until the end of the string's frets. Now let's look at the C major's three notes again from the scale. They were C, E, and G. To create a chord on the guitar, we will just have to find these three.
But they are so many.
Yes, But what do we know about the strings on a guitar? Well, you can only play one note at a time on each of the 6 strings. This means that we know the triad of notes must be played on at least 3 separate strings. And one more thing is that we are going to take them with one hand, and that means that they must all be within reach of your hand, at least if the notes isn't one of the loose ones, because you don't need any fingers from your chord playing hand to play one of those. Let's start finding all the C's closest to fret 0. These are the 2 closest to the fret 0. Now let's find all of the E's closest to fret 0. And now let's find all of the G's closest to fret 0. As you now can see, we are trying to play 2 different notes on the 2 E strings, and that's not possible. The problem with the thickest E, the loose one on fret 0, is that it can sound a bit strange because it will be played as a bass note in this chord shape, even though it's fully legal to use. We will choose to play the G note instead here. So I will remove that E. And to equal things out, I've decided to play the loose thin E string and remove the G. The most important parts of our C major is the triad notes C, E, and G. As long as we are playing those 3 notes, then we are taking a C major. And if we want to make the chord fillier, we are free to add more of the same notes, like we did here. You can also take the triad notes on different places, like this, or make it fillier by adding more of the same notes. Now, let's transform this into a C minor. First, we will use the minor's tone step list to build up the C minor scale, the same way we did with the major. Now you can see that the third has been transposed a half tone step down to a E flat. So the minor in a C is E flat. So let's go back to the guitar. Here's the last C major that we took. Here the major note was an E, but we must transpose it to a minor, and that was an E flat. Now you can use this knowledge to try to make your own version of any chord. And after that, you are free to memorize every chord in your head if you want. Because now I know that you know how they are built. Happy playing! Bye bye!